Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I am Ben here with Brian and Dylan to talk about episode number 7 of Survivor 50. And we are guaranteed now to get a brand new Survivor winner on this season, as our final winner left on the cast, D, is eliminated as, I was going to say the merge boot, but technically, if you want to be really pedantic, not the merge boot, but it felt like the merge boot.
The jury boot. Yeah,
it's the first juror boot, yeah.
Best episode of the season. Yeah. Sorry, Brian. I guess that's the only point I want to get out before you go on your best episode of the season, which makes it probably the best episode of the new era. Very, very good. Felt like old school survival. Just fantastic stuff. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dylan. I was thinking especially with Coach getting so upset about people leaking the plans. It's like, we just don't get this anymore. Like, players are so locked in on what the most optimal move is that we lose some of the people getting mad and it not helping them. You know what I mean?
This is basically the exact opposite of what happened in Winners at War, is that the new era players, I think they have a better standing than they actually do in the game, and they're kind of just starting to get picked off one by one. I don't think that there's this new era versus old school, new school alliance. It just seems to be unfolding that way.
Yeah, I think it's more play style versus play style. Mm-hmm. And then, some interpersonal drama that potentially prevents people from working with each other, like Emily not being able to keep a secret. And apparently that's what tanked Dee's game. That's what she feels anyways. That's what the edit presented us. I know, Ben, I know Emily's a girl. You think she's in a great spot. Let's hear the defense of Emily in this episode.
Well, I mean, it's been my defense the entire season, which is Emily's decisions don't hurt her. So, is it messy? Yes. Is it partially responsible at the very least for D getting eliminated here? Yeah. But it seems like Emily was fine with D going. It didn't seem like she fought that hard. It seemed like the reason that she wanted to flip it on Coach was more anti-Coach than pro-D, if anything. So, and that even didn't seem super serious or she tried that hard. It's she kind of mentioned it to Rick, and then it kind of spread to a couple other people, and then it didn't seem to go anywhere from there. So, yeah, I can't imagine that if Emily cared enough about D to actually care about working with her long term, that this would have played out this way. So I don't know. I still think she's in a strong spot. She seems like the most logical fourth with this kind of power trio that I assume going to talk about quite a bit this beautiful night. So I think at the very least she's going to go deep into the season. My big worry for Emily really is just that it would be hard for me to kind of put together a final three that she wins that seems like a reasonable way. I think there are people in the cast that she can beat in the final trial council, but I don't think the people that she's likely to head into an end game with are people that she could beat in a jury vote, unfortunately.
As a soon-to-be official member of the Dragon Slayer tribe, yes, I am going to be on a 10-minute Zoom call with Coach, the Dragon Slayer, the Tidewalker. I have paid the very, very small and fair fee to join the Dragon Slayer tribe. He is going to give me a nickname. We're going to yuck it up. I am praying to the gods that it's not a group Zoom call and he just starts picking people out one by one. Thought about that this morning when I woke up and had a bit of a panic attack. I'm hoping it's a one-on-one call that is 10 minutes, just Coach and I. We shall see, but I will be talking to the Dragon Slayer. I will have that. It is recorded, so we will be able to use it. I don't know if I'll have to sign an NDA. Yeah. Coach does not sign NDAs, so I don't think he'll make me sign an NDA, but I guess we'll see. With that said, I declare Emily and Devin's enemies of the state when it comes to all things Coach. I want them out of the game purely because I think that they are going after Coach for not liking him, and I think that says more about them than it does Coach. This episode definitely was an eye-opener for some players of who I think can win the game and who I think cannot win the game. I am going to hold my opinion on Coach and the things that went down in this episode and where that leaves him towards the end of the game. I feel comfortable now that I don't necessarily need Coach to win this season, but I need Coach to be in this season as long as possible for the entertainment factor, because I think that we got a lot of just ridiculous old school Coach tonight. And he's kind of evolved from being just like, the Coach that we knew in Token Sheens and Heroes versus Villains and South Pacific, to now where he is almost quite literally just like the old man yelling at the clouds on the beach, doing haikus out of nowhere. But it was a great Coach episode. I thought that was awesome. I think that the winners have become more clear. I'm not writing Coach off yet, but I would say that I'm a little bit nervous about his ability, his chances to win this game. I think Emily, you say she's not hurting her game. I think that she has done absolutely nothing to help her game other than just getting these other players out. I think that Emily has not had one plan that she has wanted to drive work effectively for her at all. And it's not even just like the joking around of her going after Coach. I think that Emily is just not playing a good game. Whether or not that can manifest itself into actually her being able to turn on the Jets towards the end of the season, I guess we'll see. But I think that Emily, even though she's still in the game, like you can't say that she's more disappointing than a player like Charlie or another player that we'll talk about tonight, Aubrey, of how disappointing they are, where people that we had high expectations for. I think that Emily is playing a game that, if anybody else played it, I think that we would be shitting all over it. To be honest with you, we were all big pro Emily people coming into this season. It's nice to have somebody that wants to create chaos, but I don't think that in her mind she's doing it just to create chaos. Like you've said before, Ben, I think that she is just that messy this season. Was it the undoing of D? Yes. Is that all Emily's fault? No. I think that D and Tiffany really kind of destroyed their own games at the beginning of this episode with the domino effect of things that have happened in other episodes. But yeah, Emily is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what her end game will be here. Will she turn on Christian in Devon's? I guess we'll see. It really depends on where the other two factions that we talked about last week kind of lay out the rest of the season.
Yeah, and that brings us to a fascinating strategic decision by Jonathan to get in a fight with the first member of the jury right before you're about to send them out. I loved it. Obviously, I want drama. I want people yelling at each other. But I don't know if I would have rage baited somebody who I thought was going to be on the jury like that. I don't know.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of curious, like, where we're going with Jonathan, because I think now 2 weeks in a row, the show has tried to like kind of like buoy him up as somebody like making good decisions and like, you know, being strategic and, you know, improving from 42 and all these things. But like for me, it doesn't really like he's playing well. I will say, I came in this episode, I said I thought that Jonathan and Joe were because like in these big trial councils, it usually kind of ends up being like a huge consensus boot, which it ended up being here as well. I figured that Jonathan and Joe would be the more likely people that a consensus boot would land on. So kudos that neither of them really got any heat at all in terms of being a target. And it was D who everyone was just like, yeah, we're fine getting rid of D, you know, for one reason or another. So I think he's doing something right, but like maybe he's just so all in on like getting to the final three with Coach and maybe like a Joe. And he's like, well, I mean, maybe they won't vote for me to win if I'm there against Sari, but like if I'm there against Coach and Joe, like even if I've rage baited D and was like kind of a dick, right? Like I'm still like a more palatable winner than either of them.
I do not think that you can give Emily props to how she's played and not think that Jonathan is at least playing semi-well. I think it's tough. I get what you're saying too, especially I think the first person you sent to the jury, you purposely rage baited him in front of everybody. I think that he made a valid point to her, and it's same thing to Tiffany of, you can't come out here and say you're mad at me for lying because you were burned on the wrong side of a blind side when just, 1-2 tribals ago, it was me who you burned on the wrong side of a blind side. You can't do that. So I think that was strategic enough. Like, you can't point to Jonathan calling out Dee to say that's why she went home. I think ultimately in the end, it is because Emily leaked that that Dee had told Emily about Rizzo's idol, and that was kind of it. Because I knew going into tribal that if we didn't get Dee and if we didn't get Cirie and Rizzo actually pushing for Dee, there was absolutely no chance that she had, because clearly that's where the votes were going. And we'll get into why Rizzo and Cirie are the definition of running the game right now. I think Jonathan deserves props. I really do. I think that I don't know if he can sell that in a final tribal, especially to someone like Dee, until they come back and watch the tape after the fact that, hey, I did this on purpose to try to get spotlight on Dee, and then kind of to put all eyes on her. It seems to me that the edit did a decent job of hiding that Dee was such an obvious vote when we got to this point. And I feel like they were all terrified of Dee. And I think the very, very first opportunity we got, unless Dee was in a really, really, really lock solid alliance, which she was not with anybody, that she was going to be going home right around this point, which makes a lot of sense because we just assumed from the start that Dee would be the person that was going home. That would be the scariest player from the jump. And she made it this far. And I think that's really impressive. My opinion about Dee does not change at all. And I think that the way she massively tried to fight for her life at the end here was something like, it was an awareness of the game that so many other people don't have, like playing the shot in the dark and trying to do the live tribal and all that. So, sucks to lose Dee. I guess I'm surprised she made it this far. I know we talked a lot last week about how great of a player she is and if she wins this season, where she would be. But my opinion on her really does not change at all. I think Jonathan deserves some credit, and I think that he's playing decently well. But I agree. I don't know what his end game really is at this point.
Don't get me wrong. Like I actually think that Jonathan and Emily are pretty comparable right now, because for me, I think they both have pros and cons to their games. They both do have like some glaring flaws. Like that's why this like edit was interesting to me, because I think that I agree that this blow up rage bait situation did not have any meaningful impact on whether Dee was going to go home or not. And if anything, it was probably a bad thing strategically to do, to like kind of prod the person on their way out as the juror, first juror. But it was interesting that the show tried to paint it like it was some strategic mastermind thing. But I think similarly with both Jonathan and Emily, they have they're playing decent positional games. They have people in front of them that are probably going to start taking shots before them. They are probably going to get their way on most votes that they actually care about. It's just that I don't really see a long-term plan for either of them that puts them into a position to actually win the game. So I actually think they have very similar trajectories, very similar flaws, very similar likelihood to win for me.
Shout out Biffer the Hobbit. I love a good Hobbit reference. I will not. I will not be holding my arm up to compete against the better hosts. I think that not only would I lose that in a meta fashion, I think that my arm, I could be here all night. I don't want to embarrass Ben and Brian.
Yeah, no, I've done a similar challenge to that in like a live game, and I lasted like maybe 15 minutes. So
I think if I can do my right arm, I'd be fine. I think my left arm, my arm might actually fall off. We got a haiku in the chat for those that are in on Spotify. Shout out Brian Wong, a Spotify only user. He has requested that we go back to Apple. I think it might have been Scott that requested we go back to Apple. I can't guarantee that's going to happen.
Is it not on Apple? Maybe something got messed up.
Only the loons use Apple Podcasts at this point. We have a haiku from Biffer the Hobbit. Brian, I would actually like you to read it in your voice.
Haiku. Dee's torch fades into the night.
That's the second line.
I missed the line.
Yeah.
Better radio hums. Dee's torch fades into the night. Beast's games draw breath. Very nice. Yes. Probably better than coaches, honestly. But, I want to we appreciate the haiku very much. But yeah, Daryl in the chat saying taking out Charlie really messed up Camilla and Dee's game. And I actually talked about this on that swing vote show that I do on the Blindsiders. I think that the way Survivor is set up now, you really don't play hard in the pre-merge because it's only going to hurt you based on these wacky twists Jeff wants to do.
A game really cannot be won in the pre-merge. It can only be lost at this point, honestly, from what we've seen from New Era seasons. It's not. I think that the best thing you can do in pre-merge is keep your head low and just go with the flow the best you can and hope you're not the target. I think obviously other people who are more skilled at the game will have a better read of where they are and how to maneuver. Turns out I love Camilla. I've loved the videos. I appreciate someone that is fired up after getting blindsided and voted out. I love all that. So I think anybody that's getting on Camilla because of that is a loser. And that's what's great about Survivor. I don't think and I don't know if Camilla's like this, but Tiffany is obviously pretty upset in the game at Jonathan. I don't think that you can be upset to being blindsided in that and then look back at what has happened in your game. And I know Tiffany was not involved in the Charlie blindside, so I'm not docking Tiffany for that. You can right? It was Suri, D, Rizzo, and
she wasn't
Camilla. I guess I don't know what their thoughts were of where Charlie's alliance was, or if this was just a matter of fact of breaking up the boys that were on their tribe, which they knew they were going to be merging or reorganizing at some point soon anyway. Yeah, it turns out voting out Charlie was a very bad idea for them. And I think that's going to eventually become the story of the New Era here for this season, which is why I said it's almost like the complete opposite of what happened in Winners at War, is that they decided to start picking each other off for, I guess I don't know. We can say that a game isn't won in pre-merge, but I guess you need to have a really good understanding of where your allegiances are. And I guess maybe Charlie, they didn't know. I don't know. Bad move. Charlie kind of asked to go home the way he was playing at that point with Rizzo. And obviously we've already talked about how great of an upper hand Rizzo got on him, but yeah, that was not smart. There's a whole thing. There's the Rizzo, Emily talking about the idol Rizzo. That was the nail in the coffin for D. But like I said, she had an uphill battle from the jump. I think that when you look at that group as a whole, though, Camilla, D, Tiffany, I guess whoever else falls into that fold at this point, they did it to themselves, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know if I don't know if I agree that taking out Charlie was a mistake. I think the way they took out Charlie was a mistake. I think if they are going to make that play, they at the very least need to tell Jonathan at the last minute. Obviously Jonathan could tell Charlie, and Charlie could play a shot in the dark or whatever. But maybe that's better than the blindside and then the fallout. But I also don't necessarily think that Jonathan would have worked with D and Camilla long term, even if they hadn't blindsided him. I think this just kind of created a convenient excuse for him to jump and work with the people he wanted to work with anyways. Yeah. So I don't know if I can even fully buy into that. I think a lot of Survivor is just kind of moving around positionally and then inventing reasons to justify the social moves that you're making to the people that are feeling the repercussions of them so that they feel less bad. And that kind of feels like a little bit of what happened with both Camilla and D here. For me, it's just D kind of tried to create this alliance with her and Rizzo and Suri. And within 2 rounds, Rizzo and Suri were completely willing to just cut her loose and not stick their neck out of her for her at all. Or even worse, just piggyback completely on the snowballing effect that was going against her. Or even worse, just completely drive the vote from behind the scenes. So there's something that definitely fell apart there, whether it was the Emily thing, whether that again is just more of an excuse that was being made by Rizzo and Suri to cut bait with her. But I think the real answer is probably closer to something that is like a little more ethereal, which is just like her social positioning was not as good as she thought it was. There wasn't actually enough people on this cast that were willing to work with her beyond like a few votes in the short term, and that's just kind of the way it is. Like I think like that's kind of what it comes down to at this point. It's just like nobody was really super down to like bring her deep. Like it kind of feels very like Ethan and Survivor All Stars to me, where like he makes it the furthest of all the winners in that season, and there's like a brief moment where it feels like he's got some kind of foothold where they like take a small detour and vote out Colby instead of him, but like he never actually gets a real foothold or like a real alliance in the game, and they just like quickly vote him out like the next opportunity they get anyways. So that's kind of like the feeling I have about the whole situation. It's like I don't know if there was anything specifically that Dee did wrong. It felt like kind of just an amalgamation of like small mistakes that were then snowballed as an as a justification as to why people were kind of like willing to cut bait with her.
You have any go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think unfortunately for Dee, and I think probably unfortunately for all the winners, maybe Kyle would have done better. He seemed to be in a good position from what we saw, but I think we always knew this was going to be an uphill battle if you're one of three winners and one of only, the only winner on your tribe. So the fact that Dee managed to maneuver and just like Savannah, survived one tribal council but got clipped at the next one where she didn't have immunity, like, is tough. But I'm glad she came back. This doesn't tarnish her legacy in any way, in my opinion. I think she's still a really great player, great winner.
I'm more impressed by Dee than I was coming into the season. Like as a whole, as a player, I think that she's a very, very skilled Survivor player. At this point, we'll probably still put her as the best New Era winner. I think now that we've seen what she can do returning, I think like we said, she was going to have a very, very, very difficult time in this season. Being at that point the scariest New Era winner. I know they had just seen Kyle win a few weeks before going out there, but with not including Savannah in the unknown. Dee was definitely probably the most intimidating player to a lot of these people, and the fact that she made it this far is impressive. So I want to see her again. I think that we are at the point, though, where I don't know how often we will see returnee winners that we just saw in 50 after this. It feels like it will be quite some time. I think we have more space to have the Ericas and the Mariannes and the Rachels that are going to be coming back than I think that we will be having the Kyle, probably because he got Medivac then, but I don't think we'll necessarily be seeing Savannah and Dee anytime soon. So it was just nice to see Dee play again, and because who knows when we'll see them play another time. You kind of got dabbled in it a little bit. I do want to talk about Coach before we kind of get into the real to the real meat and potatoes of this game, which is Suri and Rizzo. I think you brought up a really good point. Dee was probably somebody that nobody was ever really had plans to bring to Final Three, to bring to the end, because she's just not somebody you wanted to sit there with. I know I said that same thing with Suri, although now I see a very realistic possibility that Suri will be there. There's just like, you don't want to keep these players around too long because the threat of them being there at the end is so scary. I think that now, putting jokes aside, I think that was probably what was the undoing of Coach's game altogether in this episode, was that he was trying to drive a vote so hard for somebody that was probably everybody else's number one option to want to get out of the game. And I think that I don't know. Somebody said it, is Coach trying to get kicked off this game? I don't believe that. I think Coach loves Survivor. I think Coach would love to be there at the end. I think Coach wants to win. I think Coach is probably playing a little bit into the character, but it very much did feel like, especially coming off of last week when we were scared he was going to go home, him versus Colby, it did unfortunately very much feel like that was the complete undoing of his standing in the game, which sucks. I think Coach being Coach is awesome. It's why we love him. It's great. But, 2 weeks ago, I legitimately felt like Coach was in a great spot and could go very, very deep in this game. And that now feels very much in jeopardy to me. So I'm very nervous for Coach. I thought it was a great Coach episode, but we've had better Coach episodes in terms of gameplay and stuff like that. So that was unfortunate to see.
Yeah, Brian, I don't know what are your thoughts? What was is this the real Coach and the Coach we saw for the first 12 days with Coach kind of putting on a front, pretending to be a changed man, or what are we doing here?
Listen, Survivor has a way of revealing who you actually are, and at the end of the day, Coach is somebody who wants to be in control. He wants things to go the way he wants. And when he doesn't get his way, he gets a little bit upset about it.
Yeah, I think that Coach didn't go to tribal council until last week.
Right.
That probably was a big reason for me as to why he was able to kind of play a little chiller and not be as overbearing and controlling and flip the Dragon Slayer switch on. And then last week he was basically so out of control of what was going on. And this was kind of the first opportunity where he was actually available to play the game for real. And I think just all of the old bad habits that, lost him Survivor 3 times that he said he was going to correct this time, immediately slipped out at the first opportunity. Which is not super surprising, right? I all of us love Coach. I know, I think the things I said in preseason were Coach has all of the skills to win Survivor, but he just he's so self-destructive because of his personality flaws, that this is just kind of always going to happen. And I was cautiously optimistic that maybe this was the time that this wouldn't happen, but no, it is a time that it's just Coach is not ever going to change completely, and I know Dylan doesn't want to admit because he has to hold on to hope that Coach should win the season. But I think after this episode, I am firmly saying Coach is not winning the season.
Yeah. Sorry, Dylan.
I see. Sorry to all of us, but
it's true.
We can get in. I think I can see a realistic path forward that we have a final 3 of Suri, Coach, and Rizzo. And I mean that with 100% sincerity. I think that Coach will never be a GOAT. He will never be a sacrificial piece to a game, but I think that Coach could be there in the end because Suri is smart enough to know that he has no chance of winning. And I think that he is somebody who, as we see, is a deathly loyal man. He is loyal to those that are loyal to him. And I think that if Rizzo can continue to kind of real Coach in, which Coach seems to be navigating to Rizzo, not the other way around. I think if we see that, I can really honestly see a possibility of having a Coach Suri Rizzo final 3. I think that's why he's so giddy, is because I think we have a live final vote read this year. I think Coach knows that he is in the final, and that's why we've gotten such a spunky and happy Coach outside in the meta world on social media. That is the hope I'm holding on to after seeing these past 2 episodes. But I also don't think it is that ridiculous to know. I don't think Suri is going to want to take Ozzy to the end. I don't think that Suri is going to want to take another female player to the end. I don't think she'll want to take Steph. I think Suri can sit there, and Daryl said that if anybody's sitting next to the Suri at the end, Suri wins automatically. I don't disagree. I think that the best person that has a chance to beat Suri is Rizzo. I just don't know if Suri has I don't know if Suri knows that if they get to that spot. But I think she knows that Coach will not beat her. So I think that is a path forward for Coach. It can really almost be a Tocantins 2.0 situation where Coach makes it down into Final 5, Final 4. And even if he doesn't make Final 3, I think if we get Coach to go that far, that's great for us. It's great for the viewer and for entertainment purposes. So that's kind of what I'm holding on to. There is honestly a lot of similarities to Tocantins too, in terms of like the layout and where Coach can kind of fall into that also, and kind of where, like, I know like Rizzo can be, it's kind of a funny comparison. Rizzo can be the JT to Coach in Tocantins, which is a funny thought. So that's the hope I'm holding on to. But I think that is up to Suri and Rizzo at that point, because like we said, they are completely running the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Coach going out next week. I can see him being at the end and losing. I can see that entire spectrum of finishes for him at this point between 13th and 2nd. I just cannot see first. I think even second might be a lot. I think he's probably between 13th and 3rd. But
I don't.
Yeah.
I reluctantly agree. Yeah, I reluctantly agree. I don't. I would be shocked if Coach won at this point. I would be, but I hope he is around for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just really like to see Suri get to the end of a Survivor season. Daryl in the chat says, feels like that Suri doesn't know that she can beat anyone, but if she knew, the game would be much easier for her to play. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's never made it to Final Tribal Council, so she probably doesn't have like the best grasp of it, I guess. But even in the time she's made it close, she's had other players who potentially could have been a big threat to win, Parv on Micronesia, and then Parv again on Australian Survivor versus the World.
Yeah, but I think Aris even gives her a run for her money if it's Aris and Suri in the final too, even though I think probably she's favored.
That's a great point. Aris was on our HAP this last week, which I really enjoyed. I really like Aris, and he used to be on that show a lot. So it was cool to hear him talk about Suri as you said, Ben, the original child of Suri in these games.
Suri's story could very much be that she is the kingmaker or the queenmaker of Survivor, and never always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That could unfortunately be Suri's story. I think Suri's the best non-winner, right? I don't think that's a hot take.
I think she's a consensus pick as the best non-winner. Yeah.
On the top of my head, I can't necessarily name somebody who I think is the best non-winner that is even close to her. I don't know if you guys have anybody that you would like put in contention, but that could be Suri's Survivor story like that. And I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that. That sucks for her, and I want more for her. I want Suri to win this season on top of obviously wanting the players and the coaches and the Rizzos to win this season. It'd be a really, really nice story. It would be the story that Survivor probably wants to tell with this season. I don't know. I think that Suri is in a very good spot to win this season, but I also think Rizzo is in a very, very good spot to win this season. I think you need to acknowledge Rizzo is probably overall playing the very best game right now. You have to. And I think that people go ahead, because I'll go for 10 minutes. Go ahead.
No, that's good. I do think we should talk about Rizzo, because Rizzo's fucking good at Survivor, man. He is, coming into this stage where maybe you would have thought that he wouldn't be able to hit the ground running since he wasn't able to do pregame alliances really. But he's playing an awesome game, and, makes us look great for always believing in him,
Yeah, we've been on the Rizzo train since like episode 1 of Survivor 49. So like I'm glad that people are starting to come around on him. And I think this is a very good episode for him, obviously. And he's really very impressive. I think if he wins this season, I think hands down, we have to talk about if he's the best player of the new era. And right now, I think like that's definitely a reasonable conversation for us to begin to, unpack, because to go from kind of running last season a little bit front to back with like a couple of hiccups into an end game that he could have won if like things had gone slightly differently, into right immediately into an all-star season where he's playing as well as he is right now. It's just very impressive. And I think like so many people who, don't like him because of his, perceived cockiness or his Gen Z, lingo or whatever. Like, I don't think that they're, it feels to me like a kind of just like the hate is clouding people because he's like so very clearly so good at the game. And at a certain point, you kind of have to talk about like, is it cockiness if you're right? Like, are you like overconfident if you're not actually more confident than your results? Because right now, like, the gameplay he's putting in front of us is matching the level of confidence that he has. So like, to me, that's not overconfidence or cockiness. That's just like self-assuredness and like, kind of, knowing that you're hot shit when you are hot shit, right? Like, there are people who have been on Survivor who have been too cocky and overconfident, who like talk a big game and then don't deliver. But if you talk a big game and you deliver, that's not cockiness to me.
If you look at where Rizzo was at the beginning of the season, of like the Colbys, and I forget who else had the confessional of like, this kid is annoying, like this kid, it's like he doesn't work around camping and stuff like that. And I think you then look now to kind of his like social standing in the game. I think that alone probably speaks for his ability to socially play the game. Terrible challenge player, right? Like, we're not going to see him on MTV Road Rules anytime soon. But I think that his social game is, for me, we talk about best non-winners. He's like clearly the best non-winner of the new era. And I know that that's not saying a whole lot, but that's not even a debatable for me at this point. It's not, he's up there for characters of the new era too. But I think that I think a lot of people view him of like that Gen Z of like he like the brain rot and like the online personality and the talk. I do think that when you get outside of that, though, he comes across as incredibly genuine. He's a very emotional kid. Daryl brought up the secret scene of Rizzo thanking Joe for what he did in 48 because Rizzo has an autistic brother. Obviously with Eva and all that on 48. I know a lot of us have talked about how that ruined Joe's game, which it did. But I think that it was what go on a little bit more noble. But I think that people are missing out that are hating on Rizzo. People are missing out on just a fantastic run for a player in Survivor. And if he wins, it's a whole different conversation. But if he gets there close to the end, he is just like, what he has done is just so impressive. It's unlike anybody else in the new era in terms of gameplay wise. Like, D was fantastic socially. Kenzie was fantastic socially. I don't think any of them were nearly as good as Rizzo was. Like, we've had a lot of very charismatic and social players in the new era, but I think that what Rizzo has been able to do and the spots that he's been able to put himself in, and I think the fact that I don't view him and Suri as like he's Suri's underling. I think him and Suri are very much like co-CEOs of their own alliance right now. And I think that both of them need each other just as much as the other needs them. So it's just really impressive. And that's why nobody has really said Rizzo or Suri and brought their names up. And obviously that will eventually be coming soon, I assume. But you have to, I don't know if you guys just heard that. That was the sound of Brian Wong chucking his phone down 495 on the pike and framing him. You have to give props at this point. You have to.
Yeah, I'll say this. Rizzo is living the dream that I think every super fan of Survivor has thought about. I'm going to go on the season before an all-star season. I'm going to make enough of an impact to get invited back, and then I'm going to dominate that too and prove that I'm like one of the best ever. And like, good for him. We just dream it. He's living it.
Yeah, especially like to have. I think, right, like if we talk about what his arc is, like whether he wins or not, I think that at this point, I'm very confident he at very least goes deep. Like, he's in the end game, in my opinion. It's just a matter of whether he closes. Like, the arc that he has, I think, coming out of the season either way, though, is like he comes on, he charms all of these like old school players, despite being like the archetypical like new era like mascot, right? Like he has this like scene with Colby where he like wins Colby over. They have like this father son dynamic kind of scene together. And then he's in an alliance with Suri and Ozzy. Like he's number one allies with Suri. He literally supplants Ozzy's spot as Suri is number one very clearly. I think for Suri, it's like Rizzo 1A, Ozzy 1B at this point. He has a scene now in this episode with Coach where Coach brings him in as the replacement for Colby in his like honor and integrity alliance, the Four Horsemen. Rizzo is calling this out in a confessional that it's like it's bullshit, and you know he's like the fifth person in the 4-person alliance basically. But then he also is like I've seen people call it gentle parenting Coach as he's like trying to talk him down from having like a flip out session over Rick Devens leaking his 14-person plan to Christian of all people. He's like, yo, Coach, Rick and Christian are part of the same group. Obviously, he's going to tell Christian, you need to calm down. And he has the line of like, we slay dragons at tribal council, not at camp. Like it's, people have already, a million people have made the comparison at this point, but it's very reminiscent of Tyson in Heroes vs. Villains, kind of talking down Coach like, hey, people don't like you when you do your Coach Chi and put the feathers in your hair. Like it's very, very, very reminiscent of Tyson. So like just like filling all of these kind of roles and like being super beloved and respected and trusted by all of these kind of older era players it's very impressive.
Yeah. I also think that, and I'm not categorizing our friends like Brian Wong and Scott into this category, frequent listeners. I think that I think that Survivor, the Reddits and the Twitters have very much exposed themselves as being one of the worst places on the internet within recent weeks. I know it's not news to any of us that have dabbled in it before, but it really is just like the most miserable, depressing place ever. And I think that that's where we see a lot of like the popular Rizzo hate. And like I said, I can understand how before this, a lot of people who aren't mixing up. Once again, this is a big Brian Wong episode. Shout out Brian Wong. Brian Wong doesn't go on the Reddits. He doesn't go on the Twitters for Survivor. He's a very much like, he's not, he watches every week, but he's kind of like a casual consumer of like all the stuff outside of the game. And so I understand how those people found Rizzo like a little bit of annoying. I think all of us have been a little bit exhausted with kind of like the Gen Z like talk and mentality and like the brain rot and the skibbity toilets. I have kids, I get it. The 6'7s, it drives people crazy. But I think if you like, I think they love to just hate people there. It's negative. It's like hating on Nickelback. Nickelback rocks. And if you hate Nickelback, you're just miserable.
It's so funny. I was just thinking about that today. I was like, they're not that bad. I don't know. They got a bad rap.
No, they're not. They're not like, they're not the greatest band to ever live, but like Nickelback rocks, dude. If you were a kid drinking like Mountain Dew in like 2005, Nickelback was awesome.
True.
I think especially if you look at the context of Rizzo, he said it in this episode 4 months ago. Rizzo was literally like a civilian who had never played Survivor before. That was just a Survivor diehard. He's a young kid. Now we know a little bit more of his background. He has an autistic brother. He has immigrant parents. I think that when you look at that story and you look at the context that Rizzo has played 2 seasons now back to back after 4 months ago he had never played Survivor before, period. And the fact that he has gone this deep in these games and played this well, it's just like, it is one of, like I said, it's one of the more impressive runs that we've had for a Survivor player. And like, think of the Malcolms, right? You think of the Malcolms that immediately came back and played similar situation. I don't think Malcolm, very, very good in his first season. It's not that great in his second season. I think Rizzo is playing better than Malcolm did in his second season. I don't think that's really debatable. I think that that's why you need to really respect Rizzo. You have to. You don't have to like him, but I think you at this point need to respect his game. And I don't know if people are and I think it sucks because he should be celebrated if he wins. I think maybe that gets cured up a lot, but it is what it is. We live in an internet age, a social media age, and so I guess these sort of things are to be expected, but it sucks. I wish we could celebrate Rizzo more in like these communities.
I think if he wins, people will switch up and they'll be like, I always
already switching up on this episode.
Yeah.
It's people are coming around. I think the masses are still not quite there yet, though. Like in terms of the majorities.
Well, hopefully by the end of the season, we'll have converted them, and he'll have converted them. But yeah, my dad doesn't like him either. But I'm trying to bring him around to there. We didn't talk about Steph's extra vote. I was disappointed because I like this challenge and I wish they just used it as an immunity challenge. But it was good for Steph, good for Suri too, because she sniffed it out immediately and got the info.
Kind of like Steph owned the first third of this episode. I think it was great. Really had not seen a whole lot of Stephanie. Loved it. I thought it was great. Kind of good to get. I didn't realize that she needed complete total surgery on her shoulder after Heroes versus Villains. That was some unfortunate news to hear, but it was nice to get some background and stuff like that. Impressive. I'm glad that she got her time to shine. I've actually really liked Stephanie so far in the season. I hope that she can find a way to continue to go far. She seems like I can see Steph being there pretty deep into this game. She doesn't outside of when we had the Tribe of Christian, Ozzy, Mike, Angelina, and Emily. Outside of that, her name really has not been floated around there. And I think she is kind of playing a little bit of a stealth game at this point. So unless she kind of really starts rattling off individual immunity wins, I think that she can be there for quite a while. But it was nice to get that time with her in this episode. I really enjoyed it because I know it's a big discussion point of the edit for women in this season and all that. But it was just nice to get time with Steph. I thought that was all pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely one of the least bad, less bad, I would say, journeys. Part of it because I think it felt kind of it's a Big Brother reference, but kind of like Caitlin Herman 7-Piece Puzzle-esque, where they kind of set it up where they didn't think that somebody would fail this, whereas other journeys they've made it so they had either a difficult challenge or something that was nearly impossible. And it was just kind of a vote losing simulator. Here, this seemed like it was set up for the person to succeed. And it's just they had to go through this, hardship in order to get their advantage. My issue with Stephanie, though, is I just don't know where her head is at. She just seems like such a side character basically for the entire season, even with having gone to so many tribal councils. It didn't seem like she was making a lot of the decisions in those situations either. It seemed like people were kind of just treating her as a tag along vote. And even here, her getting the advantage felt more like just kind of a setup to bolster Suri as a player, and then also set up the relationship with Suri and Rizzo because she comes back with this lie, which I thought was a decent lie. I think as far as lies from this sort of situation goes, I think it's roughly where you should land. Because you don't want to say that you lost your vote. Saying you lost your vote is a death sentence on New Era Survivor. So you have to say that you didn't lose your vote, but you also want to say that you didn't get an advantage. So I think it's a good way to hedge. But her immediately getting called out by Suri, her immediately caving and telling Suri being I will tell nobody, and then immediately cutting to Suri telling Rizzo. It's just not a good look. I just don't know where Stephanie is going as a player from here.
Give us a great Suri scene.
Great Suri scene. Yes, again, really great. Suri, phenomenal player. One of the best to ever do it. Possibly could win the season. It's just when the best that Stephanie is getting is being seasoning on a great Suri scene. That's not good for her.
I really enjoyed though, the back and forth between them though. When they went to that well though, it was very much two veterans of the game, two people that have played together before. I thought that was really cool. Two people, I don't know if they're friends outside of the game, but it was very much seemed like two friends talking. I liked the casual nature of that conversation. Yeah, I think it also really just solidified there too. Suri and Rizzo are they're locked in. Like that's why I do not buy into. I know we got the what was it the Wizard of Oz reference? What did they say?
The Sir Wizard,
God.
Sir Wizard of Oz, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
I guess I just don't buy that group of three nearly as much as I buy the Suri and Rizzos. It almost seems like Ozzy and Rizzo are potentially maybe Ozzy and Rizzo are maybe more aligned than Ozzy and Suri, at least based on what we've seen in the show. Yeah, Steph is not somebody I'm ruling out that could win the game. I think that she's just probably towards the bottom of that list right now in terms of like moves she's made. But once again, the game is not won in pre-merge, it's lost. So now she does need to turn it on. She seems to be a kind of an important piece of the iron sharpens iron, honor and integrity alliance, if we want to call it that. She's obviously not driving it at this point. It seems more to be Coach and Jonathan over there driving things. But she seems to kind of be someone that's always in the conversations with people. So I don't know if her time with Christian and Emily will pay off at all, or her time with Ozzy will pay off at all. But yeah, I agree. She has to start doing something now. But I think that now is still a very early spot to start making big moves. So it's like, I guess I don't know what the middle ground of that can be for right now, but Steph is not somebody I'm writing off. I will say that. I'm not picking her to be a winner right now, but I'm just saying she's not somebody I'm writing off like the Aubreys and the Tiffany's and unfortunately the coaches of the game right now that have probably no chance. I'm not completely writing Joe off either.
You're not writing off Joe?
I'm not completely writing off Joe. He is probably if I'm making a list of people that I think have a realistic chance to win, Joe is at the bottom. I will acknowledge that. I think that Joe is now kind of playing a quiet, like stealth game. To what Daryl just said, his edit has been terrible. It's not good. So that in of itself speaks for itself. But we have seen terrible edits to this point before of players that have gone on to win seasons. So I'm not writing him out yet. I don't think that he's done anything to completely cancel himself out yet. Like what I think is Aubrey, the Tiffany's, and the coaches.
Okay, so I guess like I was gonna ask who is your final three that Joe can win, but like I guess like maybe like Coach and Aubrey is like probably it.
I am going to punish myself tonight for saying this about Coach. I'm gonna have to like go take a walk into the woods with my $100 Dragon Slayer staff. I'm gonna have to go do that and have really just put myself in exile. Yeah, probably. I think Coach is going to be there for a lot of people, which I think is great for us as the viewer. He is going to be a piece that can get dragged to the end. And I think it would be even twice as funny if somehow people are pissed that they brought Coach to do that and they vote for Coach. If we get like a situation like that, that could be very funny and great for me. Probably, yeah. I don't know if Aubrey's that other piece, but like in this stage, though, you're right. I don't know who the other two could be outside of Coach for Joe to allow that to happen. I'm not ready to completely write him off. Yeah. I think that Joe played really well enough in 48 until he kind of fell apart in the end that like there is a good player in Joe. I like really believe that. We have not gotten that in this season at all. I will acknowledge that also. But I do think that Joe can be a very, very good player in this game. With that said, I think that we now have a better understanding of just how bad everybody else in 48 was outside of like the Kyles and the Camillas and the Joes. I think that season had a lot of pretty bad players there at the end, and I think it's starting to kind of expose itself with Joe. But I'm not ready to write him off yet. I'm just not. But you're right. I don't know who the other person I can name right now would be outside of like Aubrey that Joe could beat. Because I think that if like we talk about Steph, I think if Steph was there, I think Steph would beat Joe right now.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I'm ready to write off Joe. I don't know. I don't know where we're like. He just hasn't been shown, and when he has been shown, it's been not in a good light. So I just don't see how he can turn this around. I don't know if he necessarily has the chops to turn it around. Like he was good in 48, being on top and kind of going down to the end that way. I don't know if he's someone who can play from the bottom. I just don't know if he's that type of a player.
I want to just note I am a very unbiased voice on this show. And the fact that Joe is on my team is completely irrelevant to me saying that. I do just want to say that. I'm being 100% honest right now. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think you are closer to being right than I am. I'm not ready to write up Joe. I think we've seen kind of sillier things play out at the end of these new era seasons, but also like I can't operate under that assumption. There are some people that are not new era players here that have been playing this game for a very long time that would not give Joe that vote. I don't know.
I think it's possible to win from the position he's in right now, but I don't think he has the chops to do it.
Yeah. I think that's very fair.
I think that Joe honestly has a lot of the same kind of flaws as coach, but without the kind of kookiness, which is that like he's kind of just like stubbornly steadfast into like seeing the game work a certain way, and that kind of like rigidness and like inflexibility causes people to be frustrated. And then, as we saw in 48, a lot of the individual conversations he would have with people as they were going out the door, people like, Mary, for instance, right? Like we talked about at the time, like it just really made people leave the game with having a bad taste in their mouth for him because he wasn't really like owning things. So like, I just don't really see a player like that being capable of winning the game without like a sharp change and a lot of like those kind of, I hate to call it personality flaws, but that's the term I use for coach. But I don't necessarily know if that's like as accurate a term for Joe. But definitely within the confines of Survivor, flaws within your personality in terms of how your personality interacts with the game of Survivor. In real life, these wouldn't necessarily be personality flaws, I think, but like they play out on Survivor as your personality causing you to have a flawed game. And I just don't really see the vision for how that changes for him.
Listen, I don't disagree with anything anybody has said right now. I'm just saying, I want to be able
to. You're just like way less. You're way less willing to write off people. Or I think that Brian and I are more aggressive with our writing off people who can't win.
I probably more who have, played better after. But yeah, I'm just when you've watched as much Survivor as Ben and for as long as we have. Like sometimes it's just like, it's easy to be like, okay, that person's not winning because I've seen the people in that position so many times and they never win.
Sometimes you write people off and they go on like a Gabler, right? Like we've wrote off Gabler and like you want to win. I think that's less likely to happen on a season like 50 than it is to like, happen on a random, non-returning player season. Yeah. But I think it's not impossible. I just think like right now the people that I can see winning the game are pretty narrow, like between 3 and 5 people at this point.
Right.
Let's for this real quickly, and I think that this will give us a chance to quickly just touch up on some people that we didn't really properly discuss. I think if we're removing the Suris, the Rizzos, the coaches, everybody we pretty much have discussed at this point, kind of just going through this list of like their current status in the game. I guess we can start because I've said her a lot already. Aubrey, are we writing off Aubrey officially? I have.
I don't feel like she can win.
I wrote off Aubrey like 4 weeks ago, and I think everyone else is just catching up.
Yeah, I think I was more hopeful. Maybe I'm just a hopeful guy. I think I was in a hopeful state of wanting this not to be the Aubrey we got. Terrible idol play tonight. I think everybody agrees Daryl, that is the first thing you've said in the chat ever that I have disagreed with, that Aubrey could win.
A lot of people, there are a lot of people I've seen on Reddit who are Aubrey truthing right now.
I think people want that win for Aubrey, right? There's a story there. They want the win for Aubrey. I think that idol play tonight was lazy. I think that it was lazy. It was no real grasp of the game. I think it kind of confirms what really we have gotten for Aubrey all season is that she is just some sort of like mentally she is not there in this game right now. She did like that. This is not the Aubrey that, and I know Aubrey has typically gone off to cold starts, not had the best edits to start and not been in the best positions to start these seasons. It is very much like a piss to get off the pot time, and I think that Aubrey got off the pot and got rid of the idol for absolutely no reason. Because I agree, getting rid of the idol, like the least dangerous idol, is an idol that everybody knows about. It's still an idol. It is still an idol that you could use. We saw Rizzo last season. It got him as far as it did because he was able to hold on to that idol. Helped probably Savannah win that game because he was able to hold on to that idol. That idol could have still have been of some value to her, especially being somebody that is that middleman that coach wants to talk about. Aubrey is very much like that middleman player right now. I thought that was a very, very bad move for her. And I don't think that the people watching that game that are going to be voting for a winner, I don't know how you can look at that move and say like, oh yeah, like that's something that a winner does. Like I think that was really bad. I thought she was going to play it for coach and kind of like assert herself into that. Was, once again, I'm a very hopeful guy. I thought she was going to just assert herself as being loyal to coach because we got that great scene of them dancing. But I think that she
can't play it for anybody other than herself, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's why we got the experts here on this show next to my blabbering mouth. Okay. I did not realize that you could
it's
only
the
play
boomerang idol.
It's boomerang idol
yeah.
only for yourself. Okay. So that doesn't change what I'm saying though. I think not. The pressure from Christian and Devins, I think that if Aubrey was more in tune with the game, she would understand why they're pressuring her, and it's not a beneficial to them or to her. Or it's not a beneficial to her at all. So yeah, I am writing Aubrey off very much. I think that this is a very disappointing outing for her.
Yeah, I mean, starting the episode off saying like I forgot to play the idol, yeah, just really bad. I mean, like when she eventually kind of like admits that it's really bad in confessional. Like you have Suri just like laughing in her face over how stupid it is. Like it's just not good, right? Like this is like the bulk of what we've gotten from her. Like we had last week, her arch enemy Genevieve gets voted out by her. She's a B player in that storyline. It doesn't make any sense if like Aubrey's the winner for Aubrey to not be like the driving voice of that. She like barely is even like a part of the conversation. It's all about Christian and Rick. And then this entire episode was just like the show laughing at how bad she is at Survivor. And then capping it off with her playing the idol, being basically peer pressured, like social pressured into playing the idol. And it's like a public, her saying like a public idol is useless, which is a laughable concept after we just saw 49, where the entire premise of 49 is the public idol is not useless. It's incredibly powerful if you play it right. And you also have that player on this season with a public idol again, continuing to not play it. You have Ozzy as well having a public idol. No one is pressuring Rizzo and Ozzy to play their idols, right? Nobody cares. The reason they're able to like pressure Aubrey is because she's a bad player and she's in a bad spot. Whereas Rizzo and Ozzy are playing well, they're in a good spot, and so nobody has the like social cachet to push them into flushing their idol. Like it's really bad. The idea that like playing your idol when it's public to get rid of it when you're not in any significant danger, when like your name isn't actually coming up and it's just people like being like, you better play that idol. Like these are the move of brilliant strategist MC from last season. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is not like the moves of a player that wins Survivor. This is the moves of a player that is forgotten. It's not good. It is indicative of being in a bad spot socially and strategically. And if you don't have the strength of character to tell people no when they're basically telling you to throw your game away, you're not winning an all-star season. I'm sorry. You're just not.
She could turn it on, but I don't know.
I don't.
And I like Aubrey.
I'm obviously probably a little biased. I came in the season low on Aubrey, even though I did draft her for my team because I thought that she would go deep as kind of an extra vote goat kind of guy person, which I think is probably going to be her arc. So I think I called that one well. But I just don't see it. I've been historically low on Aubrey as a player though. So
to be clear, I want Aubrey to do well. I like Aubrey. I'm just I'm pretty. I think I've moved on from expecting her to do well in the season at this point. I know maybe that's a little bit of hypocritical for saying I think Joe still has a chance, but yeah, I think just from the edit we've seen from Aubrey, I think it's time to write her off. I think if she, to your point, Daryl, I think though if that idol was that dangerous and she knew that, she should have played it last week. Really, I think that she should have. So does Christian get the idol back now? I did not. No. I think
he gets it back if she's voted out with it in her pocket.
Yeah. So what a waste. Billy Irish boomerang idol. What a flop that was. Tiffany's next. Tiffany's the next player I think I can go to. I think being on that wrong side of the vote, we've gotten some funny confessionals from her. But Tiffany is very much a whatever player to me at this point in the season. I'm now kind of all right, I think there were other female players from the new era that we could have got back in the season. I think that would have played a little bit better than what we've gotten from Tiffany to this point. Glad she's getting a better edit. And like I said, I think she's very funny in some of the confessionals we get from her, but I think her voting coach and that's not the reason why. I just think that Tiffany is just she's out. I think that she could very easily be gone next week, to be honest with you. I assume the better players will know they need to pull her in for a number, but she very well could be. We've seen these early merge of everybody just wanting to get out the easy boot and then kind of getting ready to duke it out once those easy boots are gone. And that feels like potentially maybe that's her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's not in a great spot. I do like that we've seen a lot more of her, but she was so under-edited at the beginning of the game that it's hard for me to believe that she's going to win. I think she's a interesting middle merge type of a player this season.
I agree with Dylan. I think she's the most likely boot that I have for next week. I think she's
for next week. Yeah. I feel like she's so gettable in alone right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Sari picks her up as a extra number. That's my one, maybe she still has life, but yeah, she's not in a good spot. That's for sure.
I think on the top of my head of other players, I think that would have been able to play better than her at this point. I think having Shan back would have been very interesting. I very much imagine Survivor did not want to have a all white season, and so I understand wanting to have a woman, especially a woman of color, play Survivor. I think that Shan is one person that I think I would very much like to see play again. I think would have probably played a little bit better than Tiffany to this point, at least from the edit we've got seen from Tiffany. I just had her name on the top of my head that I forgot her. D season, she got blindsided.
Katora?
Not Katora.
Sabaya.
I think Sabaya would have been. I don't know if Sabaya would have been playing because I think Tiffany had a better performance than Sabaya did in her season. No, it was she got voted out. And we had what's his name from? I'm terrible with names right now. What's his name from Boston? He did the whoa, and then it was the whoa. Kelly, thank you, Daryl.
Oh, Kelly.
Sorry, I wasn't specifically reaching into the females of that are.
You want to call her? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I was going. Well, you said blindsided. As I was saying, Katura, I was like, wait, no, Katura didn't get blindsided because Kelly would have been fine. Yeah, I think Kelly is I don't really get the Kelly like hype.
I think that she was in an interesting spot in that season. And like, yeah, she did get blindsided, and like the great players maybe don't get blindsided like that in their first season. But yeah, those are some players at the top of my head that I think would have been great to have back. Once again, I understand that I think it's only right that we had a woman of color in this season. I think that's great, and I think that Tiffany. I was most interested to see Tiffany and Q play together again. We didn't really get any of that. Which that's not the reason why we should have had Tiffany back. I just thought that was something we were going to be getting that we did not get. And so that was a little bit disappointing. I don't know. I think Tiffany definitely deserves another shot to try to play again, because I think she is a good personality for the game, especially in like a relatively dull new era. But I'm officially ruling her out. Yeah, I don't think that she has really any path forward at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think Tiffany has been decent from like the last 2 episodes as like a character, enough that like I'm happy that she's done the season, compared to like most of the other options that kind of were reasonably on the table. But yeah, I agree, she's not winning the season. Yeah.
Let's see. Next up, I guess we can go right back to who we've already kind of talked about a little bit. Actually, no, I think we kind of got into Emily enough. Christian. What is Christian? Definitely can't write him off to win this season. I do not think that Devon's Christian Emily alliance is in a very good spot at all, to be honest with you. And so I'm going to kind of honestly group Devon's and Christian together at this point, even though I think Christian's been playing better. I think it remains to be seen of what they're going to do. That's why Rizzo and Suri are so important to like these other two factions of like the coach and the Christian, those two sides of where they're going to side. Cause I think wherever that those people are going to go further. I think Christian can win. Devon's I'm not really that sold on, but I think that both of them, I don't feel nearly as good as I did for Christian like 2-3 weeks ago that I do right now.
That's interesting. So I actually, after this episode, have swapped, and I think I'm higher on Rick as a winner than Christian right now. Rick seems way more ingratiated in with like a wider variety of people. We had the scene that led to the Rizzo and Coach situation, where Coach is happily telling Rick the plan and then is annoyed that Christian found out the plan. That to me tells me that Rick is probably more widely ingratiated socially than Christian is, whereas Christian potentially is seen as a threat. We had the scene last week where Genevieve tells Christian that like him and Rick are like the rats that are going to have to be dealt with before the war. How much of that is like an accurate read versus like kind of fluff is, up for debate. But yeah, I'd say at this point to me, like both Rick and Christian are like trending down, but Rick is trending down slower, and to the point where I actually think that it's more likely that Rick wins the season than Christian at this point.
To answer your question, Daryl, I honestly I can picture. I think it went down of Jonathan told Coach that like, yeah, I worked a little bit with Devons when we were on a tribe together, and I think Coach ran with that. I know we didn't see that. I'm just assuming that's what happened of why Coach would think that. The thought that Coach is like Christian's just middleman, we can't tell him anything. And then that confession we got from Christian of saying like, did somebody give Coach a wedgie or bully Coach when he was younger that looked like me? That was great. Christian has been fantastic on the edits or the confessionals we've gotten from him. He's been very, very funny. He's also new. He's on TikTok. A lot more Christian on TikTok, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Christian can win, but it's gonna be he has to play a very good game from here on out because he's starting to lose control of things.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, Ozzy's really the other big topic, right?
Ozzy, there's a world Ozzy can win,
yes.
but I don't know if we'd live in it.
I think that would require him to blindside Rizzo and Suri, and I don't know how that would play out for him in a vote.
Yeah.
They could respect him for it. They could hate him for it. I don't know. I think that Ozzy, yeah, I agree. I would put Ozzy behind Christian right now in terms of, I guess, of who I think is in a better spot. Like, yeah, I think Ozzy has gotten a little bit of a better edit recently than Christian has, but I think that Ozzy's standing in the game is behind Christian at this point. But I think the next 2 weeks are really pivotal to kind of see what happens with that. Because like I said, I'm not fully sold on Ozzy, Suri, and Rizzo being all equally loyal to each other, more so than Suri and Rizzo are. So I think we'll see with that.
Yep.
I don't know what you guys think. If you have anything additional to add to that, I know we're running.
Yeah,
time.
Devins can win too, maybe. I don't think I answered that one.
No, with Ozzy, I think that the issue is that at this point he has kind of unwittingly become the third wheel in the three-person alliance, the third wheel to Suri and Rizzo, and also probably loses a jury vote to both of them. So it's like a not great spot to be, because like you said, he does need to just get into an end game with them and then like take them out in 5th and 4th place and then sit at the end with 2 goats. Which is like a feasible thing. Like it's not impossible, especially because like he's probably favored to win, challenges like at a final 5 with Suri and Rizzo and 2 goats. Like it's not impossible for him to do that. Like, but to have both the wherewithal to do that and the like social capability, strategic capability to outposition both Suri and Rizzo in an end game like that, it seems like a really big ask. It really kind of feels to me at this point like Ozzy is just kind of like going to be the runner-up to one of Suri or Rizzo, is my guess.
Am I sacrilegious to say, even as a big Boston Rob guy, I want to see Ozzy break his record? Is that
No.
I
think Ozzy deserves it for sure. I think Ozzy's consistently been a stronger. Like a Boston Rob's very good, underrated, I would say, Survivor Challenge performer. He gets a lot of like ups for being good at puzzles, I think, but just like across the board, he's like very good. But yeah, no, I 100% think like it makes more sense from like a legacy perspective for Ozzy to have that record, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. I guess the only last person we haven't really talked about at all this episode was Chrissy. Sort of similar. I can't completely write Chrissy off. I think that she has to start doing more soon for me to actually like start seriously considering her having a chance at winning. And same thing. I don't really know what that path forward is of if she starts driving the Jonathan Coach, Joe, Stephanie alliance, or if she breaks out on her own, if she gets picked up by elsewhere. I don't know what her path forward is, but I'm not fully writing her off yet.
Are you muted?
Yeah, sorry. I like Chrissy a lot. She's on my team. I think she should have won her first season and was screwed over. Obviously, people say maybe Devin, right? Yeah. Maybe he should have won. I feel that we are being shown only Chrissy's negatives when we're being shown Chrissy at all. And it would be a lot for me to believe that she could win based on what we've seen about her story so far.
Yeah, and even beyond that, like I actually don't like thinking back to even Jonathan. Like maybe the like end game that Jonathan can win is like a Jonathan Coach Chrissy end game. I think Jonathan even probably is favored against her in the jury vote. It's a massive uphill battle, both from a positional and a story edit perspective for me. I mean, at this point for me, it's like Rizzo, Suri, Gap, and then like Ozzy, Rick, Christian, kind of 3 through 5 in some order. Gap, maybe like a couple of people I could see like maybe a Jonathan in this kind of a mix. But like I even that's probably like a stretch for me to believe. Like it's just kind of everyone else is like a glob below that. Like it for me, it's like a very clear top 5, and even within that top 5, very clear top 2 of Rizzo, Suri. At this point, like I would be pretty, I'm pretty locked in that like the winner is probably Rizzo or Suri, which is crazy. It's a fucking crazy place to be right now, especially coming into the season, basically not thinking either of them had even like a sliver of a chance.
Yeah, Survivor. That's why we get off the couch and play the game, right? That is why we get off the couch, as we've heard before.
Jeff says that, but he hasn't given us a call, so I don't know. I don't know what he wants from us. We tried, Jeff. I don't know.
I am hoping.
Time, to be fair,
I am hoping that my standing as an official member of the Dragon Slayer tribe, that I have a signed document to prove I am. And I'm hoping that gets me a leg up if I decide to send in a tape. Like there's got to be some sort of cachet that comes with that signed document. I will be a Survivor watch party in Worcester in 2 weeks. That'll be a lot of fun. Very much looking forward to that. I'm hopeful to meet somebody there and be like, hey, come on the podcast, because I know we want to start trying to get some actual Survivor alumni guests on here. I think that'd be pretty cool as our numbers start to tick up a little bit. We're no Rob has a podcast or the pod has spoken, but I think that we're starting to do a little bit for ourselves. We got the Daryls out there. We got our number one fan. We got the Brian Wongs. We got the Scotts. We got the Bill Fours. So we're forming our own community, but that'd be cool. Yeah, I'm gonna try to record some content there too, some videos, some sort of stuff that we can put to keep our brand growing. But Survivor 50 has been kind of everything I've wanted it to be, even if coach isn't running away with the game at this point. Survivor 50, I think, has just been a lot of fun. Most fun I've had by far recording this podcast and the things we've been able to do so far. So it's been pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, I think that I've seen a lot of people be pretty down on the season, but I'm not. I think the season's been pretty good, especially for what New Era Survivor is. Obviously, we've talked about it. I had my, moments of being very upset about what New Era Survivor is, but I've come around to just being like, okay, this isn't the show that it was, but I still like this show. And I think this has been a good season of what current Survivor is.
Yeah, no, I'm having a ton of fun. This was like one of my favorite episodes in a long time. Really, really great. It's great what can happen when you just like throw 14 people on a tribal council and make them vote somebody out, and there's drama and there's intrigue and all kinds of strategic movement and stuff like that. When you give players the room to play and there's like so many options and so many relationships that need to be tested, like it's not a coincidence, Jeff, that giving a lot of people out of tribal council is good. Not a lot of people at a tribal council, not good. Come on. The results are in front of us, please.
Hopefully no more stupid twists for the rest of the season, but I'm sure there will be something.
We are getting at least one stupid twist next week. They did in the preview. There is some kind of game mechanic twist that is happening next week.
What is this, Big Brother? Gonna have these random twists all the time, Jeff.
Yeah. My fear is that that it is a live elimination. That is my uneducated guess based on what it looked like Jeff was announcing. Is that it's a live elimination. I don't know what that will look like.
What do you mean by that?
Elimination via challenge. I think
I don't know elimination. I've seen speculation as to what it is based off of people analyzing the preview footage.
I've seen some speculation too, and it sounds like a Big Brother ass twist.
Yes, yeah.
Specifically, was that BB9? They did that.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll see.
Well, maybe not elimination via challenge. Then I just wanted to get ahead of it in case it was. Let's throw something ridiculous.
No, I do think that is not happening this season. Luckily, I think that they are not stooping as low as last season of Big Brother, where somebody is eliminated via a challenge.
Yeah, maybe they saw it.
Yeah, they saw the hamster wheel blow back, and then they were like, "Nope,
can't do it."
Although I think that the filming probably is overlapping, but still.
Oh man! All right. Well, Dylan, anything you want to plug or promote before we get out of here?
No, this podcast, this show, like I said, keep following it. I want to keep producing content. I think we want to keep this going into the summer, into next season too, right? We want to try to make this not recording every week, maybe, but
A
some sort of
full-time
content.
podcast. That'd be cool.
Us doing, I think if we can start getting people to talk to people in the Survivor community, doesn't even necessarily have to be ex-players. I think getting people that have some sort of relation to production, maybe anything like that, I think would be a lot of fun. So I think if we start putting, if we start, putting ourselves out there a little bit more, I think that what we've seen with so far with season 50 and going live and doing all this stuff, I think that we'll have a little bit of success. I think that there are some people who are maybe, not the biggest players that Survivor's ever had that are willing to come and just chat Survivor with other Survivor fans for a little bit. So I think just keep following us here, and hopefully that's something that we'll be able to bring to the fans.
Absolutely. Ben, anything you want to plug or promote?
No, I've been having a good time. Extracted season 2 just ended. It's a really fun season of reality TV. It's definitely like a kind of psychotic, reality show, but a lot of fun. Way more fun than I expected to have with the show through 2 seasons. Loving it. Great episode, great season. Hopefully, we're headed towards a great second half of the season. Hopefully, towards a great end game, great winner. What else is there to say? It's delivering. Is delivering.
It is. As for me, of course, check out the main channel, Wicked Everything, Wicked Sports, Those Fake Nerds, History is Wicked. Check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Wicked Everything. I'm going to try to stream this weekend, maybe some Super Battle Golf in honor of the Masters. So stay tuned there. But other than that, really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, and we will see you in the next one.